Things that keep founders up at night. Hello, I'm Anthony, founder at SeedLegals, and over the years, over my career, I've built and sold a few startups, I've been an employee at other startups, and at SeedLegals, I talk to literally thousands of founders. The life of a founder is not easy. There are many things that keep you awake at night. So I'm going to cover the 10 things that I've chosen as the most popular or least popular things that keep founders up at night, sharing some thoughts on each so that you can hopefully sleep better. Thing number 1, how do I find a co-founder? So finding a co-founder is one of the hardest things. Why? You've had an idea, you want a co-founder. You can't exactly put a job ad out saying wanted co-founder, can offer no money for a risky new venture, success not guaranteed, no revenue, and you have to put up with my cranky temperament and late night emails for a few years until hopefully we get a good exit. The problem when people I see looking for co-founders, it's a bit like being on a dating site and saying wanting person for marriage. You don't do that. You say wanted person to go to the movies. And similarly, when looking for a co-founder, particularly a technical co-founder, I would start by looking to hire somebody as an employee, as a tech lead or senior developer with a path to becoming a co-founder. So start with something that's much easier, because the bar for finding a co-founder is impossibly high. They have to share your vision, want to like working with you, want to work for almost no money for a while. It's much easier if you say looking for a tech lead, maybe a CTO, call it, and then the path, if you love each other and love working together, to turn it into a co-founder. So start with a simple thing to fill that also lets you try before you buy, because if you have a co-founder and it doesn't work out, you've given away half the equity, everything falls apart. Whereas if you've got somebody as a CFO role or a CTO role or other role and it doesn't work out, well, the business can continue without them. Thing number 2, keeping founders up at night is, what if I build it and nobody wants it? And this, I think, is really ultimately the biggest problem in an early stage company, because for most founders, many of them are technical. They think the thing to be solved is building something. And only a couple of years later or a year later, you wake up in a cold sweat thinking I've built all this stuff, and actually I realize now nobody wants it. It was a vanity idea. It was my idea. Even I don't want my own product. And you definitely don't want to be there. So how do you avoid not being there? Well, it's to do user testing and real validation. The problem is you ask people, wouldn't it be amazing if there was this? Or, there's this amazing new thing. Don't you think it's awesome? And people will tell you, sure, I don't know what he's talking about, but yeah, absolutely, it's amazing. And so then you go off and build it. Well, what you should be doing is asking people, have you ever looked for one of these? How much would you pay for it? Are there any other similar things you're using? And if someone's never looked for it or wouldn't be looking to pay for it, this is a clear indicator that either you've got something so new that's amazing, or more likely, it's not really a problem people are looking to solve. And that's the one that gets you up in a cold sweat later. So really put the effort into creating a mock-up, a prototype, even an MVP as quickly and inexpensively as possible. Get the actual thing in front of users, even if it's a clickable prototype. Ask them, what does this do? And if they can't figure it out and it's not solving a problem and they wouldn't pay for it, keep iterating or drop the idea and do something else before you get people to follow you for the next year of your life and get investors to give you money, and only then realize that. Thing number 3, can I take investment money from investors, and in particular from friends and family? So this is a really tough one for founders, because it may not work out. Will your family ever invite you for Christmas again if you take money and lose it? And it's a tricky one. In the UK, it's made much simpler by the SEIS and EIS rules. So the wonders of SEIS mean an investor can tax deduct 50% of their investment if at the point they invest. So if they invest £10,000 into your business, they can deduct £5,000 from their last tax bill, which is great. If your business does well and they keep the shares for 3 years, they'll pay no capital gains tax. And if the business doesn't do well and folds, they can tax deduct the loss they made. So the result is, for an SEIS investor, their risk is something like 20p in the pound, which means if it fails, of course, it's not good. They have lost money, but they'll still hopefully invite you for Christmas. The other thing, of course, is if you are taking money from friends and family, really don't take money from people who can't afford to lose it. So if you've got family members, they're £5,000 or whatever it might be that they invest, it's not going to hurt them. It's not going to kill them. Great, take the investment by all means. Explain the risks and rewards of a startup. The worst I see on SeedLegals is when naive family members believe that this is a loan that's going to get repaid, as opposed to there's a 60% chance your business will fail and there's a 20% chance they're going to make 10x or 20x their investment. Explain how it works and explain the median time to an exit in a startup is 5 to 7 years. Get that right, and if they still want to invest, then a year or two in, or 3 or 4 years in, when things are going well and not well, they understand and they're sympathetic and empathetic and part of the journey, rather than going, you took my money, I want my money back. Thing number 4, keeping founders up at night, is when can I release it? How many features do I need to build before I can release it? And one of the problems is many founders are technical. I'm a technical founder, and technical founders love building stuff. So you start by making a big list of features of all the things that you think your customers might want, and then you go and build all of it. But the problem is you haven't got any real customers actually using it. And guess what? When you find real customers, it's going to turn out half the things you built, nobody's interested in, and half the things people are interested in, you never thought to build. So what you want to do is you want to create the simplest proposition that you can get in front of customers. It's said, if you're not embarrassed by your first release, you've left it too late. The other thing you can do is fake it till you make it. And what I mean by that, I mean that you can create a nifty front end that looks great. It looks like the real thing to users, but behind the scenes, you're doing things manually. You're doing things that don't scale, but will get you to initially learn whether people love it or not faster. So when we built SeedLegals, the whole document automation platform, creating funding round documents with thousands of variables in the documents filled in from deal, it's all really complicated. But we had no idea if founders would want it, if investors would allow founders to use it. So how could we get it out sooner? Well, obviously, being legal documents, we couldn't go, these are minimum viable legals, they'll probably work. What we could do is make a fancy front end for the website that looked like the real thing, but behind the scenes, it was creating a G sheet, and our legal team was busy creating the legal documents in Word and then popping it back into the website. And at the point they started going, Anthony, you're killing us, we need to automate it, we knew that we'd built something people wanted. We'd learned the key deal terms and the features they wanted. And I think perhaps most importantly, we'd realized all the stuff we thought they wanted, no one was interested. And many of those features, only 2 years later, we added on SeedLegals. So get it out sooner. Don't wait. Don't be embarrassed. The reality is your early users will know you're an early stage startup, and actually frame it correctly, will love to give you feedback and will be big advocates. All right. Thing keeping founders up. Number 5, how do I find investors? So you get on Google and you start Googling funds and you find all these VCs and you write to VCs and they probably never write back. But if they do, and you manage to get a meeting, which is great, at the end of it all, they'll go, great, how much revenue do you have? And you go, I don't have any revenue. And they go, okay, how many users you got? And you go, I don't have any users. And they go, well, do you have any users? Well, we're still working on, we're building it, we haven't released it. And the VC will go, love what you're doing, come back later. And it's the story of your life. When you go to VCs, come back later when you've got revenue. And how do you get past that impasse? And the answer is angel investors. And that means you need to go out and find angel investors. Angel investors are everybody. Everybody might invest 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 500. So you're going to find as many people as you can to make up your funding round. You're probably also going to raise a smaller amount than you might have had in mind because, maybe you wanted to raise 500,000, but you're going to start with 200,000 because you can find that. So angel investors are your friend initially, and then you're going to shamelessly tell everyone you know your fundraiser. You're going to post on LinkedIn about this amazing idea, making sure it's not a financial promotion. You're going to get on chat groups. You're going to go to friends and colleagues. You're going to go to people in the space. Everyone needs to know these fantastic things you're working on, but phrased in a way that you're solving a problem, they understand it's about investment, and they want to be part of it. Thing number 6, keeping founders up at night, is I'm messaging investors looking for investment and nobody is replying. So here's a typical problem, which is you write to some investors and they don't reply. So now you think, or maybe 1 in 10 replies. So now you think it's a numbers game. So you start creating these emails that go out to hundreds or even thousands of people. So is scaling and with a 1% reply rate the way to go, or is it customizing? And the thing to realize is any well-known investor is going to get lots of incomings. I mean, a VC will get hundreds of incomings per month, sometimes per week. They just don't have time to reply. In order to increase your reply rate, you want to do a few things. Firstly, don't waste your time on ones that are not in your sector. So don't go to a VC when you're raising 200K because that's just not them. Don't go to a VC that specializes in, only eco things if you're doing a crypto fund or something like that. Find one that's relevant. The next thing is create personalized messaging. Don't send a pitch deck. Don't go, we're raising. Try to find something personal. So let's say I'm doing a LinkedIn outreach to an investor. I might say, hey, I've been following you for a while, love your articles on legal tech. I saw you invested in this company. Actually, we're doing the next generation. Can I tell you more about it? And if, when I get an incoming, somebody's researched something I've done in the past, they've watched one of my videos, they've commented on something, I'm really likely to want to respond. Everyone wants to be nice. If someone says, Anthony, I've watched one of your videos and you spoke about something about SEIS, and I liked what you're saying, I disagreed with this, and actually I'm working on one of these, could I ask you some questions? I'm probably going to say yes. So create a personalized message. The other thing is when you do your LinkedIn outreach, try to get a warm intro. Now everyone says get a warm intro. It's easy to say, difficult to do. A warm intro is, of course, somebody to introduce you to the investor who the investor already knows. But how are you going to do that? Well, nice trick on LinkedIn. Look up the person you want to connect to. LinkedIn will show you who you've got in common, and then reach out to this one or more people you've got in common and ask if they can make an intro. When people do that with me, please don't all write to me. I'll go look at when I connected with this person on LinkedIn, when I last chatted with them, and if I've chatted with them recently and have a reasonable reason to write to them, I'm generally delighted to help. If it turns out I last spoke to them in like 2010 or something like that, several lifetimes ago, and we haven't spoken since, it's not going to work. So those techniques for helping to find investors. And then the reality is, if you talk to many founders, you probably need to be talking to 100 or more, or reaching out to 100 or more investors. You're unlikely to be lucky by just reaching out to 5. So if you've reached out to 10 and haven't gotten anywhere, do not be despondent. You're just at the start of the journey. You need to scale up, but with relevant, targeted, and ideally warm intros. Thing number 7, keeping founders up at night, is how much money should I raise? So I think it usually goes like this, which is I need 2 developers, I need a data person, I need a product person, I need a designer. They're the 2 founders. I think it always comes to like 8 people. And then you have to raise for 18 months. So maybe I then need 600,000 to $1 million that I need. I've now worked on a spreadsheet how much I need to raise. Let's say it's $1 million. Now, in an early stage funding round, your dilution is usually on the order of 15%. And that means that your valuation will be 5 times the amount you're looking to raise. It's a good rule of thumb. So if you're looking to raise $1 million on a 5 million valuation. So now I go to investors and I say, great, I'm raising on a 5 million valuation. Investors go, have you got any users yet? You go, no. Have you built the thing yet? They go, no. And now you discover that your valuation is at odds with the stage that you're at. So what you really want to do is you actually want to raise much less initially. And here I think is the interesting dilemma. What you as the founder really in your dreams are thinking is, if this is time and this is money, you'd like to raise a huge amount of money like today. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And so now your trade-off is, do you have to kiss a lot of frogs and talk to lots and lots of investors to try and raise that big amount that you have in mind? Or should you raise in smaller amounts up front, using a seed fast or a safe to raise incrementally, or doing a smaller round and then a bigger round? And so I think really when I see on SeedLegals founders looking to raise a larger amount initially, it might work if they're well known in the industry, they've had previous exits and so on, or more often I think to myself, they're going to be back in 3 months going with the plan that I originally suggested, which is start with a smaller amount, we call it agile fundraising, to raise enough to get the developers you need, get the prototype, to show something tangible, to then increase your valuation and raise more. So it's all about raising smaller amounts to get there faster. Thing number 8, keeping founders up at night. And this is more of a later stage problem, which is you wake up one night going, oh my God, what if Facebook, Google, Amazon, DeepMind, somebody hires all my engineers and I'm dead? And over the years, I've wondered and woken up about that as well, particularly when some company raises huge amounts of money, and what are they going to spend the money on? Developers. And so over the years, I've seen years ago, I was paranoid that Facebook, as they set up in London, was going to hire all my employees. And I found that actually they did hire a few employees. But guess what? 6 or 10 years later, Facebook wasn't as cool as it was, and they're not spending as much money. And actually those employees are looking for new jobs. And I've got net inbound from people at Facebook wanting to work at my company than the other way around. So what I've noticed over the years is the pendulum swings. Sometimes you've got companies that raise huge amounts of money that may well be on the market looking for developers. And later on, they run out of money because they've spent all their money on expensive developers, and it flows back again. So what you want to do is you want to keep your team happy, motivated, make sure you're paying reasonably market standards. Obviously, you can't pay the same as a Facebook, but you don't want to have too big a gap in the market. And I think when you talk to a lot of developers or people in general in startups, many of them are taking lower pay because they want the startup lifestyle. So make sure that you provide the startup lifestyle, the flexibility, the empowerment, the work from home, whatever it might be, so that your team feels happy, motivated, on a mission, with purpose, and wants to stay with you rather than going to some big, boring company, even if they're going to pay them more. Thing number 9, keeping startup founders up at night, is, should I force people to go back to the office, or can they work from home? So, if you look on Twitter, they're vastly polarizing opinions. JP Morgan's CEO is saying, if you want to work at JP Morgan, you're going to be in the office because we build a great business, and go elsewhere if you don't want to be in the office. On the other hand, there are companies going, we're fully remote. This in-office stuff, it's so like last century. And where should you be? And obviously, I don't know the answer. But my take at SeedLegals is, if I can create a great office environment that has people want to come in the office 2 or 3 days a week, then I think that is the new future. So once upon a time, when I started out, I would never hire people who would not be in the office. If you could not be, within, whatever commute time to the office, I wasn't interested. And then COVID came and everyone worked from home. And you know what? It worked pretty well. But I still only hired people who could aspirationally be in the office, so not too far away, with rare exception. And now we find hybrid work where people will be in the office 2 or 3 days a week, maybe developers less, and support and sales team more because they're more gregarious. And my goal is to provide a great office space, free lunches, croissants, great coffee machine, and all the other goodies that have people want to be with each other. And I think that as time goes by, I definitely want to push that without forcing people to be at the office. So your mileage is going to vary, but I'm super cautious when I see people wanting to just hire remote teams, because if you can't be face-to-face, I think things are a bit more difficult. And a lot of the office vibe, a lot of design ideas comes from the serendipity, literally that coffee machine. When I'm in the office, and I have to say it's not as frequent as it should be, people coming up or overhearing conversations and just solving problems, and the speed at which things happen is faster. So welcome to the brave new world. And if you can find a great space and encourage people to it, I think that's the way. Thing number 10. Keeping founders up at night, the big one, which is I'm running out of money, what to do next. If you're fortunate and your business gets to cash flow positive or profitable fairly soon, you can sleep much better. And unfortunately, it takes a while to get there, and some businesses take a long time to get there. Often your first version of the product is not going to have paying customers. Sometimes you'll be working on a social networking app that will have lots of customers needed before it can get any revenue. And until then, you're living on this treadmill where you've got VC money or angel investor money, the money's going down all the time, and you have to run faster. And if you don't get to the next funding round before you run out of money, you're dead. I see these days, fundraising is tougher. More and more businesses are not making it. And it's very sad to see that someone's worked really hard, the team have followed you, and you're out of money. So what can you do? Well, you want to, I think, thing number 1, focus on revenue as soon as possible. And I've been there myself in the past, which is forget the revenue thing. We're going to focus on growing big. We're going to hire salespeople, marketing people, scale, and we'll raise investment money because all the graphs will be going up and to the right. The problem is things take longer than you expect. And if there's no revenue, it's really hard for investors who just see you hemorrhaging money to want to put more money into it. Investors will see that their money will be gone in 12 months or 6 months or even less, so they won't put money in. So what you want to do is get to cash flow break even, which means keeping your burn rate low initially. It's going to feel painful, like I wish I had more developers and so on, but forcing you to act lean, I think is good. It forces a clarity of vision. I'm not going to do a B2B and a B2C and a data warehouse. I have to pick one of them. Great. I'm just going to focus on B2C. And I can't be in 4 countries. I'm going to pick 1 country. And when I nail that, then I'll go more. So staying lean and focusing on revenue is a great strategy that will help you sleep better. But the other thing is managing that burn rate. And here's the mathematical certainty, which is if you have 6 months of runway and you halve your burn rate, you're going to buy yourself another 6 months. If you've got 2 months of runway left and you halve your burn rate, you're going to buy yourself another 2 months. So the longer you leave it, if you realize you've got a cash crunch coming, the harder it will be and the deeper you'll have to cut. And if you get to 2 months left, well, on people's payouts and things like that, there's basically no recovery. So you want to make those hard decisions fast so you can make smaller cuts. And if you can see your product's not going to be ready for 12 months or you're not going to be able to raise in 12 months, if you reduced your burn rate by 30%, that's going to give you another 4 months or maybe 6 months. That might be enough. If that's not going to be enough, then you need to act sooner and act deeper as well. I think the key thing that here is keeping founders up at night is realizing in your mind subconsciously that the train's going to run into that mountain, but being hopeful that somehow the track will get extended or whatever it is, the runway will get extended before that happens. And the reality is it's probably not going to happen. You might get lucky, but you don't want to bet everything on getting lucky. And that means cutting burn rate, focus on revenue, doing whatever it takes to get some revenue so that you are not reliant on that next fundraise, because if it doesn't happen, that's going to keep you up at night. So those are the things keeping founders up at night. It's kept me up at night over the years, periodically for decades. Still got my hair. So hopefully, if you can get on top of those, you can sleep better at night.